and you're there, Mel, so hello, I'll introduce you in a minute. But his time doesn't allow him to come towards the end of the meeting, so we'll do the first 3 items and then we'll go on to the exempt. So we'll have the recording on for the first 3 items and then go exempt and then come back on, if that's okay. Does anyone have any objections to the change of the agenda? Excellent. Okay, thank you. So any apologies for absence?
Just Councillor Lewis, from what I know.
Yeah, we need to try and do something about that. We have this constant clash, don't we, with his county. So we'll have to pick that up. Any declarations of interest?
Sorry, Chair. Catherine Williams from Derby City Council as well.
Okay.
Apologies.
Thank you, Matt. Hi, welcome. Any declarations of interest? I will declare, because not that I'm there any longer, but on the boots, the last item, just acknowledge that I was part of that and was around at the time. Yep. So the minutes from the previous meetings were circulated with the papers. Any comments or questions from the minutes? I think all the actions are being picked up through this meeting, and that's been confirmed by Tom and Sajida. Yep. So can I therefore ask the board members if they could approve the minutes, please? Yeah, taking that nods and hands, that's approval. Thank you very much. Thank you. So Mel, we're now going then on to thank you. So we're going back to item 4, which is the capital programme overview. So go back on your papers to that. And I think, Sajida, am I handing over to you at this point? Yeah.
You are indeed, Elizabeth. So we are now in the last month of the last year of the Local Growth Fund programme, and quite a milestone moment, because by the time we meet again, the Local Growth Fund programme will have finished. And that is £250 million of investment through the D2N2 local growth funds into projects across the whole region. As we come to the end, our understanding is that we, Sarah and Tom have been speaking on a regular basis and are undertaking, weekly, daily updates with projects to make sure that that last £7 million, £7.8 million left in the programme is on track. And everything we know live as of today is we are on track to deliver the remainder of the programme and therefore meet all of our financial deadlines for the Local Growth Fund coming to the end of the programme. And I think we talked about this the last time. David, I think, quite rightly challenged us to say, you're giving us great news, when will we know if things aren't going well? And we knew that actually this programme has had its bumps along the way. And 2 years ago, we were sat here with a very different picture. So to be in this position, I think, is a real kind of testament to where we are as a region, as a partnership, and all the projects within it. So hopefully the next time we meet, we will have told you that we'll have spent all of that and we'll have delivered. And clearly, the objective now is continue to deliver and monitor those outputs, because it isn't just the investment, it's the return on that investment. And that is very much the reason why the fund exists, why partners commit to it. And it's about contributing to the wider region's ambitions around growth, around supporting skills, infrastructure enabling growth, and all of that will continue to happen. And with working with colleagues, we will maintain that focus. And when we have the programme returns, we'll be able to give a little bit more of a narrative. And I'm hoping that by the time we come back at the next meeting, we'll be able to bring you more of an overview, an end of year report, so to speak, highlight some of the projects that are progressing, so that you don't just see them when you're being asked to make a decision. Actually, you get to see some of the progress that those projects have made out in the region. So we hope to bring that back at the next meeting. And the other fund that this board also looks after, which is delegated through the LEP, and we've heard one project already from that, is the Getting Building Fund. Just by way of reminder, that was allocated last year, and that's 44 million across 10 projects. As we've just approved the project presented by Nottingham City Council, we are now in a position where 7 out of those 10 projects allocated by government only in last July have been approved. And I think, again, that is quite significant when you think that in a very short period of time, we've moved from being allocated funding to actually approving that funding, which demonstrates that those projects were delivery ready, which was part of the requirement in agreeing that with the government. We've got 3 further projects, and Tom will take us through as part of the milestones where each of those are and how they're progressing, and when you might be able to expect to see those projects coming forward. But for now, I think, 2 final points from me. Local Growth Fund, we're really on track and ahead of where we would expect it to be in this financial year. And in terms of getting building fund, again, making significant progress on taking those projects forward. So Elizabeth, that's all I really wanted to say by way of an overview, and hand back to you and to take any further questions.
Any questions or comments? Excuse me. Any questions or comments from Sajida? Tom, yeah, so your hand go up.
Yeah, so just to add on that, for the reassurances of the board, also the projects which had large amounts of remaining spend coming into this last financial quarter, we have just finished an interim monitoring return with them as well to make sure that at the start of March they were where we thought they were going to be. Sarah and I can report that sort of we've had no shocks from that, and that everyone is progressing at the rate at which they should be. Some slight issues may have arisen through this, but we've actually worked with project sponsors to mitigate them where possible. And like I say, from all of our financial forecasting, we should absolutely hit the LGF spend target by March.
Thank you. So I just wanted noted that my thanks to this board, because we did, you know, the position wasn't fantastic a little while back, and that was called out in our performance review with central government and our colleagues in the region. But the work that you as a board have done, and your teams, and the teams within all of the district and local authorities and private sector partners, have been phenomenal to get us into this position, and feel very confident that the level of rigour that now is expected of all people receiving the funds means that they really do work with us very closely to make sure we're well informed. So I just want to put my thanks on record again to the board and to all of your colleagues across the whole of D2N2 for the support in getting us to where we are. Jo.
Yeah, basically I want to repeat what you said from the other side as a board member. I came onto this board when you announced the threats that we were under, and the fact that we were not performing as well as we should be, and that we had a huge task ahead of us. And so over the past 2 years, I've seen this board progress, and I've seen very positive projects come through. But also what I want to reflect on is the support that D2N2 and the whole team have given from the Bassett Law end that I've experienced. I presume it goes out everywhere. The support and the partnership work that we've had from you, it's been hands-on very much so, and we really, really appreciate that, because having a LEP that understands its local area is actually absolutely imperative for getting those projects through and the building on the ground. And so, yes, I think the change that's happened over the past 2 years is evidenced by meeting these deadlines. So well done, all of you.
Thank you very much, Jo. It's teamwork indeed. Yeah, so that's brilliant. And I think Sarah's now going to just confirm where we are with the absolute numbers. And over to you then, Sarah.
Yeah, so I'm not going to repeat those numbers. So just an update really. I'll do LGF first. So as we said, we've just got those last few payments to make. So they have actually gone on a backs run this morning. For the majority of those, there's just one project that we pay on a different basis, which is Riverside. So we pay those on an actual basis. So once we get past today, there'll just be the Riverside payments to make. Everything else has been paid, including the service level agreement and anything else that needs to go through. So I'm not expecting to do any more things on LGF. In terms of getting building fund, we're up to date on invoices and things. So the only thing that leaves us now is for people to put their Q4 claims in. So all the projects know the timescales, so I've been in touch with those. It is slightly earlier than perhaps we'd have liked, but because of year end and how backs runs falls and deadlines and different things and one thing or another, because we've got to do the freedom and flexibilities with DCC, it's slightly earlier than perhaps we'd have liked, but everyone's aware of the deadlines, and all those payments will be made before the 31st. So we're all on track.
Thanks, Sarah. Any questions, comments for Sarah? No, it's pretty good news and pretty robust data set. So thank you as ever, Sarah, for your diligence in this space. Keep us right. So thank you. I think, Tom, then we're on to you, item 6 on milestones.
Yeah. So as we can see, the 3 projects left in the Getting Building Fund which are yet to be approved, and the milestones that come around from them. So firstly, we've got Drake Clay Park, and what I'd say on this one is subsequently, since the information that's gone out in these papers has gone out, there have been changes to the details that we know of the project and the progression of the programme. So after a meeting yesterday with Derbyshire County Council, there has been delays in the land transfer agreement with regards to this project, and what that means now is that further design works need to take place. So I'd say it's very unlikely, if not impossible, that we won't see that business case coming forward in April from this project, and we are going to meet with Derbyshire and then with the project sponsors and the local authorities that are relevant to this project, I think in the next couple of weeks as a matter of priority to gauge where this project goes. So for this one, I would say it's a holding position at this point in time in terms of where this project goes and how quickly it comes forward to us.
Joe, I see, is on the line. Joe, have you got anything to add here? Should we be moving this from amber to red? Is this a significant change, or is this something that can be managed?
No, it is something that we're managing through Elizabeth. We've got good regular contact with the developers, and I think this is a result of a new development partner coming on board and some of the land transfer agreement delays in that sort of relationship. So I think we're fairly confident that we can move forward at good pace.
Okay. So we'll have a decision to make because of the contracted timelines on this. If we go beyond May for approval, we'll have some decisions to make, I would imagine. And it's good to hear that you believe it will progress, but I think it probably is one that the board needs to be attentive to, because this money will disappear and we wouldn't want that to happen. So, you're wanting to come in.
Absolutely, and all I would add is, Elizabeth, this is we had a meeting late yesterday with Joe and Tim and myself and Tom to understand the latest issues that have arisen. What we need to do is understand the impact of those issues. At this moment in time, we need to understand whether that has a significant impact in terms of its ability to deliver or not. We're not in a position to do that given the information that's just come out. So what we're hoping to do is have that joint discussion that Tom referred to. It's also worth bringing to the board's attention that this project also has a joint funding contribution from the Stoke and Staffordshire LEP. So it's a joint project. It's a joint project across 2 areas, which has quite significant backing, and it's quite a significant project in that region. So there's a lot at stake with this project, yeah. But notwithstanding that need to make sure that it's delivered, and we've made that absolutely abundantly clear at every discussion that we've had with the developer, and they're very aware of that. So,
do you know what the GBF contribution is from Stoke and Staffordshire they're looking for?
It's
actually greater. It's about 5 million from.
So they've got similar challenge then as well, because
if anything, apologies, Elizabeth. For them, it's actually a greater challenge because it's a bigger contribution from a smaller part of their programme. So it's important to both ourselves and Stoke and Staffordshire LEP even. Therefore, we will bring back an update on the long-term impact of those changes, and be very mindful of the need to actually recognise the end date.
So, Joe, is it a Derbyshire driven, or is it a Stoke and Staff driven project from your perspective?
In terms of LEP, I think it's even Stevens, but notwithstanding the difference in the funding. But this is actually a developer promoted project. It's not a council promoted project. But obviously, we're really mindful of everything that Sajida's just said in terms of the the political site that is on the development, the fact that 2 LEPs are jointly funding it, so it has double risk. It's not just one organisation, and obviously Staffordshire County Council as well. So it's multifaceted, and I think we're all sort of very sighted on the risks that are inherent.
Yeah, we'll rely on you being clear on it for us so that we can make the right call. Yeah.
Absolutely, and we instigated the conversation with Sajida last night as well, just to make sure that we were sharing the information, that we're all up to speed with what the issues were.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Jo. Thanks for your help.
I don't think I'm really clear on what the issues are, but it sounds like it's a lawyer's fog created by the developers. I'm assuming we're using the funding as a stick to beat them with.
You'll know yourself, David, with land transfer agreements that the dotting of I's and crossing of T's becomes quite important and causes some delays. And what Sajida's basically hinted at is that we need to work out what that does to the funding profile. There is spend that can still continue and already is continuing. You know, the development is underway actually. Work is taking place on site. What we need to work out is what can be attributed to the fund itself, and making sure that we're securing the funding profile of what can go out of the door in time. So that's what we're working in terms of mitigating the risks.
Sounds like one for absolute deadlines to me, which the lawyers have to comply with.
So you can maybe pick this up outside and give Jo the benefit of your with Sajida. But what I hear, Jo, is everybody's on it. You're definitely kept us abreast of everything that's actually happening, and that with your college and Staffordshire County Council, you'll put the necessary pressure on the developers to dot their I's and cross their T's if they want access to this funding. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Tom, next project?
Yep. So the next project on the list is the MRC Midlands project by Derby City Council. So from the last meeting, no significant issues to pick up on to the board on this one. So planning permission is due to be submitted within this month on this project, and then looking at a permission approval in July. So then we will try and align the business case. So then that can come through in July, and we'll get a final approval from the investment board then, if possible, and if things go to plan. So we're working through any sort of progress is moving on that project, to summarise.
Councillor Holmes, are you anything to add? Because it had a bit of a hiccup, but it seems like everybody's now back on track.
Yeah, absolutely. I would certainly obviously report back if we had any issues. You know, we're very open and transparent about that, but Tom's pretty much summed up the situation. I'm very confident we're moving forward.
Thanks. Thank you, Matthew. Excellent.
And then lastly, the Smart Park project. So a similar story, really. We are progressing well. We're on target with all of the pieces set out. There's a cabinet report going tonight for this project. David, do you want to come in now, or?
It was about NAMRC. It moved on too quickly, but I'll wait till you've done this bit if you like.
No, you go for it if you want. I'm happy to.
I was only going to say that until you said what you said about Drakelow. NAMRC was the one that unnerved me most, in that NAMRC themselves are footloose, and we need to keep them entranced with Derby, because they can very easily divert themselves back to Rotherham, Sheffield, if we are not careful. It's in the city's court, really, isn't it, Matthew, that, you know, to keep them romanced for the city. But I know this from local rather than insider knowledge. It's going slower than they want it to, so we really need to keep our arm around them if we're not doing so already.
Matthew.
Thank you, Chair. Absolutely, David. I mean, would it be useful for me to have you liaise with our officers, just to relay have that conversation, to give you some confidence and ensure that we're moving forward?
Sorry, I spoke to Paul only this week, I believe. So I have had a conversation with Paul in terms of just making sure that all of those comments that David relayed he's cited off, and he is. So from that perspective, we are talking to your officers on that. But I'm sure if David wanted any further reassurance, that would be really helpful.
Thank you, Sajida. That's great.
Thank you. And to the point, David, we've been talking about this and wooing them, if you like, and them wooing us for 2 years or 18 months. So I'm sure we'll get it over the line, but it's good for everybody to be vigilant to the concerns, and maybe a bit of focus from all parties wouldn't go amiss, you know, never does. So thanks for that. Sorry, Tom. Yeah, on Smart Park.
That's fine. So yeah, as I was saying, I think I was just about saying that there's a cabinet report going for approval tonight at Derby City Council. So progress moving from that point of view, and the planning permissions in. Attended a Smart Park steering group meeting the other day, and progress is moving well from that project. So making advancements on it, and still looking to bring forward that final business case approval date significantly, probably into late spring, early summer kind of time. So yeah, all moving well on that project, and looking good as well.
Be good to see if that final business case could come through June, July time. If things move at the pace at which we're actually talking about, that would be excellent. And having met them, I can imagine there's a determination to so do. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any questions on any of the updates on the milestones, or any other questions on any other projects from anyone, or comments? So we recommended simply to note the milestones and the business case for approval, with the exception, I guess, of Drakelow Park. Now we're saying we will revisit that come the meetings that are about to take place, and we'll get an update at the next board meeting, and review the status of it at that time as well. So we can note that in the minutes, that would be great. Okay, board happy with that? Perfect. I think then we're on to the item 7, which is an update on the scrutiny report, which I'm grateful for the team for having done. So who is going to lead on this? Sarah.
Me, I think. So I think if you this is came as a request from Councillor Gilby last meeting, just as an update on what's been happening over the last 12 months. So colleagues from Scrutiny have just done a short summary really of what's happened. Obviously we've ended up meeting 2 of the meetings out of the 3 virtually, obviously because of the situation. So we did actually meet in person in December 2019, which is when we first met, but since then we've obviously met virtually. So Ros has just done a short summary of what we met, when we met, and the areas that we covered. All the papers are on the website if anybody wanted to read them in detail. It is a public meeting that we have, so we also have colleagues that attend the scrutiny from not just Derbyshire County Council, but we have colleagues from Chesterfield and also from Bassett Law, and also more recently Nottingham City have joined us. So it is a sort of D2N2 wide group as well. So so yeah, I'm going to take it mostly as read, to be honest, Chair, rather than go through the detail unless anyone's got any questions.
Councillor Gilby.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'd also like to thank Councillor Tony Kemp and Ros for pulling together this this report. It is interesting to see what Scrutiny have been doing in one place, and clearly they've been meeting in very challenging times, and they would probably not have the greatest opportunities to do that team building and programme planning that they would have done in other circumstances. I'm really pleased to see that they thought back in December 2019 that the processes that were in place for the RGF programme would result in with the position that we're in now. So they were right, weren't they? But they're pleased they were right as well. So I think my question back to them would be is, what are they now thinking about what they might do post-COVID, and what programme they might put in place? It would be good to see the programme planning in advance, and also for having been a chair of scrutiny for 2 years. I was on the council before I became leader. It's absolutely vital that scrutiny members feel valued and their voices heard. So what ways in which are they going to take to ensure that their voices heard? Obviously this is constructive criticism within a family. It's not going out public, and then this board and the main board will have opportunity to know what they're looking for in terms of input to their programmes from us, and also what they're looking for and how we respond to the robust criticism that I'm sure at some stage will come forward to them. But mainly thanks for showing this to us, and I will look on the website for for all those papers and things sometime when I get a moment from terrific developments.
Thank you. Thank you, Tricia. Any other comments? I mean, I would add my thanks to Councillor Kemp and to Sarah and the team. I think it really is important there is independent scrutiny going on, and they feel that they do have the opportunity to come and challenge and raise questions. And you should know that all of these papers do go to the full board, so the board will actually see all of these papers as well. So they'll see that scrutiny report as part of that. I think it'd be fair to ask this to Councillor Gilby's question, Sarah. How would the scrutiny board like to engage further? So would they want to come and present to or challenge us as an investment board on some of their thinking and finding and where they go forward? So the outcomes is going to be the real thing that we're scrutinising now that we've spent the money. Are we going to deliver on the outcomes? And I would love them to be holding us to account and helping us to hold our programmes to account as well. Sajida, did you want to come in there?
Only when you finish this item. I just wanted to, if there's no comments on this, then I can go to that. But perhaps if you want to just check.
Okay. Any other comments other than we should note the report and note the thanks to Councillor Kemp and the scrutiny team? Thank you. Okay. Sajida, before we come to any other business, I guess you're any other business then, is it?
It is indeed. I just wanted to introduce Chris from Rowena's team. So colleagues probably wouldn't know. Chris is on the call, Chris Lowry. So David Wright, who was our area lead, many of you may recall, he's been part of the team working with us, and we work quite closely on many of these the areas that we've been working on as part of the investment board. He's moving as part of a temporary promotion to another part of CLG, and therefore Chris Lowry within Rowena's team will be our area lead as part of D2N2. So he's on the call. I'm sure he's listened to most of our input, and I just wanted to give him the opportunity, should he wish to, not wishing to put him on the spot, to say hello, but also let colleagues know of the change and the fact that Chris will be working with us in that capacity of an area lead supporting the region.
Apologies, Chris, I should have introduced you at the outset. I didn't realise you were on the call, so welcome. I didn't know you were joining us, and David is moving on. So we've said our thanks to David, so welcome.
Not a problem, Chair, and thank you Sajida for the introduction. As Sajida said, my name's Chris Lowry. David's obviously moved on for the next 6 months at least, so I'm going to be with you for the next few months. I'm familiar with the area. I work on the Midlands engine team at the moment, so I'm doubling up between that and as the area lead for D2N2. I'm a Midlands lad, living and working in the Midlands, so I am familiar with some of the areas and the things that we've been discussing today. So look forward to working with you over the next few months.
Yeah, we look forward to working with you as well. Thank you. Any other business? I think one would probably worth noting that as we come to the end of this year and the funding for this year, which is, or the LGF,
is Elizabeth frozen?
Yeah, if I knew what she was going to say, I'd take over, but I don't.
You're back. There, she's back.
Oh, apologies. Did you hear anything of what I said?
No, you froze.
Apologies, I don't know why that happened. Maybe they don't want to see it. So what I was going to say is we're coming to the end of the allocation of budgets and funding through the investment board, because the LGF fund, as we know, ends this year, and the Building Better fund, we are well on our way. We will still have to monitor the output from this funding, but you will also know that there's a consultation going on. Chris will know about it, about how the future of LETS, but more importantly, there has also been a decision made that the funding the levelling up funding will come through local authorities and into the infrastructure. That will have an impact on how we organise ourselves. There's no decision as yet, because they're working out the form of what it should be. So my intention at the moment is just continue to operate as is, because this is the policy, until there is a change to it. But recognising as we go through this year, it won't be about allocating funding and monies, it will be reviewing the outputs and the performance of those funding. But I think it's important we do that, because it's not about spending the money. That's the first part, get it out the door. The second part is, did it deliver against what it was supposed to do? And so far we're on track. But just to note that change will be coming through this year as we then change how we're going to operate. It'll be an impact on LEPS per se, but it will be an impact on this board in particular, and the local authorities will determine how they're going to do it going forward, which will be for the local authorities to determine. So I just thought to just highlight that change is coming. Yeah, so many of you will know it already. But it doesn't. But we still need you, Sarah, to make sure that we monitor these programmes and they never get lost. Yeah, because you are still our accountable body. Councillor Gilway.
Yes, thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah, I'm glad you referenced that change, because I'd spotted it had some of my members of my council, so we were wondering whether you knew anything more than what we knew. But I just like to say that actually we've got the Staby Town deal funding confirmed recently. And Sajida sits on that board, and Sajida's input and Tom's when Sajida's not been able to be there has been extremely valuable, because of the experience of managing funds of this type, and also because of the way that the town board is constituted. Sajida's played a valuable role in sort of educating some of the less experienced members of the board on how you do it, and it's not your favourite project, it's your most robustly assessed, independently assessed projects that get funded, not just what you think's the best for your area. So I'd just like to thank the LEP for the input that you've made through Sajida to the town deal, and hopefully that will continue as we progress.
Thank you for those comments, and I think we did want to support, and there was very much a supportive role in the town deals, because they were led by, which I think is the future way things may pan out. Sajida?
I just wanted to come firstly, thank you, Tricia, for your kind words, and I would say, it was very much of a partnership work, and it was a really good example of how that came together. And in that vein, as you say, the experience that we've had in developing the programmes, we're very happy to continue to work with towns and areas as they develop their approach to levelling up and community renewal. And indeed, I've had an email this morning from colleagues in Nottinghamshire, from Bassetlaw, Mansfield and Newark, who've been announced as being part of the Priority 1 within the Levelling Up and Community Renewal Fund, to look at how we can support those towns and areas from that objective perspective and the evidence and the background that we have working in that area. Because in our whether we're committing or delivering funding or not, our commitment is still to the benefit of the region, and in any way in which we can help to enable that, bring that together, we're very committed to still supporting that. I presented, as you know, Tricia, to the Prosperity Committee in Derbyshire last week, and again made that offer there to say how can we help in that enabling convening space, and also looking across the patch, because the danger sometimes is if everything's done at a very local level, some of those opportunities to look across more than one area might be missed if there isn't that opportunity to collaborate. And we're very happy to support in that role, in whichever way you want us to. We're here users, and we'll continue to work with you in that space.
Thanks, thanks, Sajida, and thanks, Tricia. Yeah, I mean, I'm very supportive of the policy that local authorities then do, but you'll be competing on a bigger playground now, because you'll be competing nationally. Because as we understand it, there isn't going to be money given to the region for it to be. It will all be held through central government. So, being good at arguing our case and making strong propositions, I think, will be an important important for everybody across the region. And to that end, I'd just like to finish by saying thanks everybody for their support on the free quote. It won't have gone unnoticed that we did actually win an expression of interest for the free port bid, and I think that too is an enabler to a lot of development that will come in time across the region. So I don't see any lack of development in the region, that's for sure. And as we started the conversation informally, Tricia, you can see it all around Geopatch, which is wonderful to see. And we're seeing it around Nottingham, as has been expressed by Mel and others, and Councillor Holmes is here. We see it across Dart, we see it across the patch. So let's ensure that that continues and that we get robust economic investment into this region by whatever means it comes in. I don't mind. Yeah. Okay, and I'm delighted to say it's been very efficient today, so at 30:08, unless there's any other comments or questions, then it's only to say the next meeting, Tom, is the April meeting.
Potentially May now, but we'll.
Because we've got the, okay, that's fine. And my thanks to everybody, because we were having these much more regularly because of the need to allocate both the Building Better Fund and also making sure that our LGF funds got out the door. So April meeting not being required takes us back to a 2-monthly cycle. Thanks to everyone for giving up their time more frequently over the past 6 months in particular. And I'll see you probably in May then, the next investment board. So thanks everybody. Have a good week. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you. Bye.